Hello, Scott Graham here, Chair of DFL Senate District 61. I've been getting a lot of questions from people about what's going to happen at our convention on March 24th. So I'm going to walk through the agenda with you and tell you what's going to happen as best as I can tell. And if this is helpful, great. So we're going to call the convention to order at 10 a.m. There will be a welcome by me, a few comments. There will be a flag ceremony, Pledge of Allegiance. Then we're going to read some statements that the DFL has as standard doctrine, the affirmative action, outreach, and inclusion statement. And then we're going to hear from our credentials committee, who will tell us how many delegates are on the floor, how many alternates are present and available for upgrade for absent delegates, and also how many challenges, what sort of challenges we have in terms of a formal challenge that's being brought to credentials. I think I should be a delegate. They don't expect me. I don't have paperwork back there. I want to bring my challenge to the floor. And as with everything to the convention, the body of the convention, that is to say all the voting delegates, decides on many things. One of those things is the credentials challenges. So if somebody brings a challenge and says, seat me as a delegate, we will listen to what they have to say, and people can speak for or against the motion, the challenge in this case, and then we'll all vote. Once we clear that hurdle, we will then adopt our agenda and rules, and sometimes people want to change a rule or want to change the order of items on the agenda, and I'll say this. We have a committee called the Rules Committee that met and had a very productive conversation about what rules we would propose and what agenda we would propose to the convention. When we start to break away from that and propose changes, it's time consuming. Now, it might be an important change and it might be a really valid change, so I don't want to dismiss the possibility that somebody will make a change to the rules or the agenda. Get rid of the cat there. It is time consuming because many people want to speak for and against these motions. It takes time to vote. You can easily wrap up an hour or more in a rules modification fight. And what we hear every year, every single convention, every single time is this took too long. Why is this so complicated? One of the reasons things get complicated is because every item is dissected and reassembled. And so if we move through this business smoothly, we get to the meat of the matter quicker. But like I said, some of these changes, challenges, and motions are important. Once we have adopted our agenda and our rules, we will then hear from our treasurer with the amount of funds we have for the year. We will consider any constitution and bylaw amendments. I am not aware of any, so that should be a very smooth item. And then we'll hear back from the credentials committee again. Now they will have upgraded all alternates that are available for upgrade. They will have settled any credentials challenges, and they will then tell us how many voters, delegates are on the floor. This is an important number because that's probably the highest number of delegates we're going to have all day, and that will govern our quorum for the balance of the meeting. Next thing on the agenda is the election of party officers. This is officers to lead the Senate District Central Committee. Senate District 61 has a central committee. We meet once a month. We conduct the business of the Senate District for the DFL. We help connect the voters of the district to the elected officials, our senators and representatives. And we run it like a business, not so much from the financial perspective as from the managerial perspective. We are a management organization, and we meet once a month for about an hour, and we also perform campaign responsibilities for both within our district and beyond. And this group that we're about to elect at this item number 12 on our agenda, is the election of officers to that. I'm the chair presently. I've served a few terms and I'm stepping down, so there'll be a new chair or two nominated. Our nominations committee has met and interviewed all sorts of people, and they will be proposing a slate of qualified nominees to these positions. If the people in the room feel that the nominations committee has done good work and they trust them, they may very well just decide to vote for the people on the recommended slate in total. We'll elect them all at one time. They may choose not to do that, and that again is the business of the body. The delegates can choose how they want to elect those people. Next, we are going to ratify the people who became precinct chairs and vice chairs at caucus. This is really a matter of just approving who volunteered to do those roles. Next, we're going to separate into the 61A and 61B House districts. Our Senate district is comprised of 2 House districts. That's why we have 1 senator and 2 representatives. One of our representatives from the A side of the district is not challenged, and he's an incumbent. So Representative Hornstein will very likely receive a quick and easy endorsement. He'll speak to us, address us, and let us know what's on his mind. Then on the B side of our district, we have 4 wonderful candidates running to replace the retiring Representative Paul Thiessen. We will then start the process of endorsing one of them. This process will be handled by ranked choice voting per our rules, proposed rules, which means that we will all be given ballots in which we rank our first through least, or favorite through least favorite of these 4 people. So there's 2 men and 2 women, Jamie, Sarah, Maggie, and Tim. You'll rank first, second, third, fourth choice. Then the ballots will be counted. If one of them gets 60% on the first choice ballots, they will be endorsed, and we will conclude that piece of business. I've posted another video on YouTube called Ranked Choice for Endorsement, and I'll be including that link in a lot of my emails. It goes much more into depth about how ranked choice voting works in this environment. So I'm not going to go deep into it here, but let's just say that we're going to strive to get an endorsement for one of our qualified candidates, and that process can take a while. So I would imagine that's going to take at least a couple hours. I imagine that probably will start around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just to give you some idea of the time that you should allot for this convention. At the conclusion of that, we will join back together as a whole Senate district, and we will elect members to our State Central Committee. Now, the State Central Committee is a body that runs the DFL party. It is a large body comprised of people from all around the state. I wish I could tell you off the top of my head how many people were in it, but I'm going to say it's 650 members. And we have we have 12 members of that committee from our Senate district. And again, our nominations committee is presently meeting with people, interviewing them, and will present to us a recommendation for people that they've interviewed, both past and new members, to be on the State Central. Incidentally, if you would like to serve as one of these positions, either the SD 61 Central Committee I mentioned before, or the State Central Committee, they are anxious to hear from you, and you can email me, scottgraham2@mac.com. You can find that on the SD61 website as well, dfl.org/SD61, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the right people. So once we successfully elect members to our State Central Committee, we will talk about our resolutions, which you will have had access to all day. You will have had a ballot and a description of all the resolutions, and you will have voted for the ones you think should go forward to the State Central Committee. There may be some discussion about that at this time. And then finally, we'll arrive at the time when we elect our delegates to the state and congressional district conventions. Those conventions are coming up, and we elect one set of delegates, 35 delegates, 35 alternates, which will serve both at the congressional district and the State Central Committee. Strike that. Both at the congressional district and state convention. Nothing to do with Central Committee. Strike that from your thought. So you will, if you're elected to this, you will be asked to go to the Congressional District 5 convention in May and the state convention in June. State convention is in Rochester. It's 3 days. You'll be responsible for your own travel expenses and lodging, so it's not a nothing to do. It is kind of a big ask, but there's only 35 of us, and there will be, I'm absolutely certain, more than 35 people who wish to do this job. This process very well may take the form of a walking sub-caucus because there most likely are going to be a good number of people who want these positions, and there's only 35 of them, plus 35 alternate. So likely a walking sub-caucus. That process is likely to take an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending. At the other conventions I've been at, leading into ours. Most conventions have been probably going till about 5 o'clock in the evening. Some have gone much later. Some have gone to 7 or 8 p.m. and not concluded their business. In many cases, that's because they spent a lot of time in a couple things. Rules fights is one of them. The endorsement of House candidates is one of them, and also just diversions because somebody wanted to change a rule or make a motion or change the way we were going to do something. So, like I said before, those are all completely valid things, and without a doubt, some of them are completely worthwhile, but they all take time. And so as you are navigating your way through the day, keep in mind that the convention is going to go till 3 o'clock would stun me. 5 o'clock's not going to surprise me. 8 o'clock would be disappointing, but is completely within the realm. Once we elect our state and congressional district convention delegates and alternates, we have a couple other pieces of business. We need to elect chairs for that delegation, and we need to recruit people to help organize and run the congressional district and state convention. Those are called pre-convention committees. At the close of that business, we will adjourn. I should also mention that throughout the day, we will have speakers, which would be candidates for office. We have people running for governor, auditor, attorney general. We have people running for House in different districts. We have Secretary of State is unopposed, but nevertheless may very well want to address us. Many people from different levels of our government that represent us will want to come and speak to us. We limit their comments to 2 minutes, but 20 of those at 2 minutes is at least an hour of our day, probably more like an hour and 15 minutes, and there is a constant flow of them. So all of these things contribute to a long day. Experienced convention goers bring a snack and a book or something to entertain themselves. Not every piece of business during the day will entertain you. If you live on the A side of the district, during the B side endorsement, which will take some time, we would like to ask you to serve in the role of a teller. Since you are non-biased, you live on the A side, you do not get represented by the B side House rep. Maybe you'd like to serve as a teller. I'm recruiting for that now. Again, scottgraham2@mac.com. I know I rushed through this information, but it's already a long video. I want to thank you for paying attention to it. I hope it was useful. If you have questions, please ask. I'll watch the comments too. Thanks. Bye.